Hello, everybody. It's me, Pacific. You know, sometimes I don't have ideas for videos until I start reading my comments, and then something just gets my blood going and going, oh yeah, we got a subject. I think it's time to talk about racial issues involving dating. I cannot believe that just in the last week, I have noticed some things. First of all, I want to thank my viewers. I want to thank my viewers that they are diverse, that we have black men, black women, Asian women, even some Latinas out there. Some of them are showing up more and more. And people from all walks of life are tuning in to the one and only Pacific Ocean, who continues to litter the internet with more discussion. I have really felt that I have been slow and behind the eight ball most of my life. I'm going to deal with several issues. Ebony Lady writes in and says, it's just so sad that so many white men are waking up to the reality there's all these nice black women out there too late. She said, I feel that it's almost a form of racism that they didn't give us a chance. Let me tell you, lady, my story. Okay, I lived in Los Angeles for the first 10 years of my life. Up until 10, I'm not really thinking about girls. I'm a boy. I was into Tonka trucks and playing in the backyard and making mud cakes with shovels and running the garden hose and flooding the backyard and promptly getting my butt beaten for making a muck hole in the backyard. That's where my mind was. Climbing the trees, climbing up on the clubhouse roof, throwing my mother's candles off the roof and going, uh-oh, now I'm in trouble. Jumping off the clubhouse roof with the other guys and thinking we're, buff. Took and nailed a wicker chair to the front of my clubhouse and made it into a truck, put it up there and nailed it with 16 penny 4-inch nails way up high. My mom comes out, what happened to the chair? That it was attached to the wall with such ferocity that nobody could get it off. And I said, it's my delivery truck. Here's the box. Here's the cab. I sat up there, Oh yeah. Pacific was one heck of a handful to raise, let me tell you. I didn't have any brothers, so when the boys came over, we had a metal slide. It wasn't attached to anything, so we'd set it up on the edge of the picket fence, slide down it. We'd attach it up there, and we'd sit up there and drop big clods of dirt down it, pretend it was a cement mixer chute. Oh, gosh, yeah. So I wasn't interested in girls. Then, in 1976, moved to Mammoth Lakes, California. I'm still behind the eight ball. And if I remember correctly, we didn't have one black girl in the entire school when I was going there. We had a black family move up. We had some black boys move up. They had moved down from Alaska. And I want to share with you some things. The three boys, there were two black guys that had afros, and then the son was mulatto. And they lived a couple blocks over from me, and there was a white gal behind me that I was interested in. This was when I started to get into girls, and we would play, and we'd roam the neighborhood and ride bikes and play hide and seek. Well, for some reason, one day, all these guys started chasing my butt, my skinny little white butt, and I was like, oh my gosh. The white girl ran home, got her father, her grandpa. He pulls around in his mint 70s blazer, black, nice lift on it, beautiful. The guy was a World War II vet. He sees what's going on. He slams on the brake, rolls down the window, and he yelled the racial epithet and says, you know what, N-words, leave him alone and get off. And he took off a-running. He says, get in. I said, I didn't even do anything to them. And he says, they don't belong up here. Believe it or not, he was one of the nicest white guys, but he had grown up seeing a lot of bad stuff, and he had not a high opinion of them. As I went to school, the boys had a reputation of knocking up every white girl they wanted. One of the older ones, the Afro man, he was pushing 6 feet tall. He had a van, and the joke went through the school that every time he saw his van in the parking lot, the van was going like this, and everybody knew what he was doing in there. So my view began to be colored like, wow, okay, these guys are different. And they were. Then I moved to Prescott, Arizona, sitting in science class, and there was a girl behind me, and she was black, very loud. I never did anything to her, and she would just blurt out things that would make my face turn red, and she would embarrass me, and I'm like, what is this girl's problem? But she would always ask to borrow my ghetto blaster, and I was nice enough to lend it to her, and she signed my yearbook. You're pretty cool, Mikey. Thanks for always lending me your tape player. But I always had this opinion that they are different. I never thought about dating a black girl because growing up, there was no racism in my home. I never heard my parents say bad stuff about black people. Never. To their credit. They believed that we're all God's creatures, and in spite of all their screw-ups with me and my sister, they believe we're all God's creatures, and they did not promote an attitude of racism. But again, it's in predominantly white communities. When I started to notice black gals was when I was in Duluth, Minnesota, and I had them on my bus periodically for summer trips and stuff, and I noticed that they liked to talk to me and they were nice, and I noticed, boy, they really probably don't fit in up here. They felt I was approachable. And it was then that I started to notice, boy, and even as a kid in LA, I'd see a black woman and go, and she'd smile and those big white flashy teeth, and I'm like, man, those girls are cute over there. Coming back from Hong Kong, going through stuff, I am amazed at how long it takes for some people to really get a sense of what freedom is. When I became a Christian in 1985, I realized freedom from condemnation. I realized freedom to know and read and understand the truth. As a man, as I moved out into America, I realized the freedom that I had to move anywhere I want. To book a flight and go to Hong Kong to chase what I thought was to be the love of my life. The thing that interested me in the Filipinos is they had dark skin. I had always liked dark skin. How many white guys say, oh, I like a tan woman? It took me a long time to realize, why not go after one who's tan year-round? My preferences started to evolve. Yes, I use that word because in that context it fits. I love ebony skin. I cannot believe. To me, ebony skin is very much different. I like it. I'm not going to get into all the reasons why. It's just, I wake up slowly. Sometimes when we get older, our taste buds, our senses start to mature, and we start to go after things that to us is quality. This is not saying white women are no good. It's just that through my journey, through my experiences, I've been slow. Now I really notice ebony. Now I really want to date ebony because I believe they have something to offer, a lot to offer. For the longest time, I grew up thinking, my gosh, I try to fit in my race. Like the church I go to this Sunday, Pacific has to turn his turbochargers off and just go in there on an idle. I'm not boasting on myself, but I tend to run kind of like, that truck sitting there idling with glass packs. Wow, 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 wow. That's the way I run. My RPMs are way up here. I go into a setting like that, I have to keep it there. I can't put the foot down and go, I can't do that because I'm going to get looked at, I'm going to get stared at, I'm there to hear truth. Just this week, that black woman that I went out with and We had gone for a walk. We went to dinner one night, went to lunch the next day. I noticed the white women were staring at us when we went around the lake. I didn't care. I thought, I thought I want to be a fly. I did think I'd like to be a fly on the inside of their mind and know what they're thinking. And I thought to myself, they're not going to ask me out anyway, so why would it matter who this guy's with? They're not interested in my kind. But somebody wrote on my site and said, you start dating black women, you'll find white women will all of a sudden be interested in you. And I thought, you know what? That may be, but it's not going to work for me. There's so much game playing and undercurrents in our society, it's not even funny. And now I'm just now beginning to learn that there's even racial riptides. And I'm like, wow. When I took the lady to a Denny's restaurant on the west side of Denver, which is predominantly Mexican, this is what she said to me. You know, I hope that us going there isn't going to be a problem. I said, why would that be? She goes, well, you know, that side of town's pretty racist. She said, the Mexicans don't like us. I said, a lot of the Mexicans don't like any of us. I said, it's Denny's. We'll be fine. We got a nice white waitress. She was very polite to us. Can I get you anything? I think personally, when I looked at her body language, she thought, wow, that's really cool. An interracial couple just out having lunch. I didn't see any hang up. I didn't sense any. And there are people that are mature like that. I get back here. And the other day he had a discussion with me saying that he believes that God made the races separate and distinct. I said, well, yes, he did. But I said, there's nowhere in the New Testament that says that we cannot intermix. He said, well, then how come God told the Israelites to remain separate? And I said, because he had a covenant relationship with them, and there was reasons for that had to do with sin. The other nations were getting into idolatry, and he didn't want these people being led astray. I said, but we're not under that anymore, sir. I said, what if I found an ebony woman, and we actually fell in love, and we were both serving God together? That I finally found a woman where I could actually focus on serving God, because now I've got the relational aspects that I want with the mate down, and the two of us are in love. He says, I'm not saying that can't happen. He says, but you have children, and then you're going to have mixed race, half-breeds, as he put it. And I said, I know that there's trouble with that. But I said, I am 47. I don't think I'm going to be finding somebody who wants children at this stage of the game. So that's a non-issue. And then I said, you know, then he made another comment. Now, I'm just being honest. He said, you might get involved with a woman, and it might end in a divorce in 5 years, because when all the brothers and all the relatives come over, you might find that their culture's annoying, and you don't want all that in your house. I said, what if that woman's had enough of her own race? Just like I'm tired of some of the things that go on in mine. I said, what if she's independent enough to go, yeah, these are my relatives, but they're not going to come over here and behave in such and such a fashion? Then I said to him, I said, you know what? I said, sir, look at, since I've been here, how much trouble I've had dating. And when I've gone out with white women, look at all the problems there have been with women my age and their attitude. They're not very nice. And he quickly responded, a lot of black women your age aren't very nice either, you know. I said, I'm aware of that. I said, I've been through enough stuff that I'm not hung up on the racial issue at all. I'm after finding love. And a preference has been slowly rising through the mist and fog in my life. Says, boy, I like dark skin. I always have liked dark skin. To the lady that said, some of us white guys wake up too late and give them a chance. I wasn't able to give black women a chance because I wasn't around a lot of them in the towns I lived in. It was predominantly white. The other thing is that I always believed that they're not going to date us white guys. As a kid, even I saw it. There's a wall there. There's some sort of a wall. I didn't put it there. I just sensed that there was a wall there. Look at them, admire them, say hi to them, be nice to them, but they're on that side of the fence. We're on this side of the fence. A misperception, but there's some truth to that. A black man, I'm going by his picture and his YouTube site. When I said why I prefer Ebony, he said, "You're effed up." I didn't handle that very nicely. I wrote him back and I said, "You're just plain effed." And I said, I said, "This site is for intelligent people." And I said, "I don't need ass clam trolls like you on here. You have been banned." Should I have responded that way? Probably not. But I get so much of this stuff. And I shut it down and I leave a comment right on their site and I get rid of them. Racism exists in all kinds of people. If Pacific finds a wonderful black woman, can I weather that storm? You better believe it. I'm not going to make that my focus. I'm going to make her my focus. And if people got a problem with it, it's just that. They have the problem. Something has happened in the last week. Something big has happened to me. Says, you know what? I think I'm on to something. How many of us viewers go through life looking and we get caught up in this and we get caught up in that, and then the years go by, we're no longer interested in that. As we begin to mature, something in us should change. Our focus should become more directed. And I'm not believing a lie. Many well-meaning black brothers in Christ, many black men and viewers have written me saying, "You think you got problems with white women, don't get involved with black women because they're worse." I go to my workplace and I see it there. I see the ghetto girls. They are truly trash. They are rude, they are loud, they are obnoxious, they are haters, and there's a lot of that in Denver. You go out in the east suburbs, Montbello community of Denver, there's a lot of crime, there's a lot of problems, but in the middle of all that, there's nice women out there. A lot of black women are getting tired of their black men. A lot of black men are getting tired of their black women. A lot of white men are getting tired of white women. What's happening in this world because of the internet is we men are also realizing we now have choices. We don't have to be stuck with vanilla anymore. Vanilla is good, but a lot of this vanilla has become rancid. And if I start looking at an ebony woman and go, my gosh, I'm passionate, I'm expressive, I speak my mind, I can be loud, I'd rather be with a woman like that has those personality characteristics that can handle me than a white woman who's millie-moused and being politically correct, but then in a marriage is going to explode and unload all over me. I find ebony women to be very passionate. One of the things that turned me on in the Philippines was to see women, when they hear a song come on, it didn't matter if there was other people in the room, they just start. I'm like, I like that. You get in a room full of white women, song comes on, and most of them will just, the frozen chosen, rigid. I'm like, that's not free. You put on a song and some black woman will go, oh yeah, I like that. It's called expression. And some races put that down. You go live in Norway, Finland, or Sweden, they are known for being stoic. I tried that culture in Minnesota. I always called it Scandinavian, the Scandinavian countries. Most of them migrated to Minnesota. It wasn't for me. There are some things I really appreciated in the Scandinavian cultures. The discipline to carve out a life in sub-zero temperatures. The stories of the old people and the draft horses bringing in the ice and pulling the logs out of the forest. Scandinavia has their own rich heritage and history. And a lot of Scandinavian men were tough guys. Today, we got a bunch of men whining and being like little girls. You go back to the old Scandinavian men, they grit their teeth, they hunkered down, and they did it. Do I respect that? Yes, I do. Am I just like them? In some ways, yes. In a lot of ways, no. When I look at cultures, I believe emotions are good. Living in Duluth, living in Hibbing, and seeing people that the only emotion I ever saw was anger, I thought, man, this is just not for me. When people's pulse rate, if you put it on EKG, is only like this, there's nothing wrong with the culture being a little more expressive. I don't have to know every single thing about African American culture to be accepted by an African American woman, nor does she have to know everything about white culture to fall in love with me. It's about two people coming together with some commonality and falling in love and going with it. But I'm amazed in the last week. I asked myself if I brought that lady to church where I go. And I dated the Asian woman and brought her last year. Everybody was okay with that, though I still felt, because they know me from before, it's a lily white church. I think I saw a black woman and her black daughter come in there one day. I haven't seen them since. I think they came a couple days. But I asked a question. Would I think that this woman would feel comfortable in this setting coming with me? And I thought, no, she wouldn't. So even I knew. Asian woman, yes. Bringing a black woman and everybody's going to be going, did you see who Pacific was with? Did you see that? I guarantee you there would be discussion at the Sunday dinner table, lunch table. And, I found myself going, that's not right. Even the lady told me yesterday, in America, they still don't totally accept white and black together. And I said, but that's wrong from a biblical perspective. And she said, I know it is. But she then said, I still ask you, why do you got to go outside your race? And I said, why do I got to stay in it? I look at her own granddaughters. I look at the white women that are single and available. They're not very sweet. They're not very nice. They've been affected by feminism, political correctness, all that. I believe that every viewer needs to make their own decision on the matter and not condemn those that don't do exactly like them. I also want to make it clear, too, that just because I like black women doesn't mean I hate black men. That's the farthest thing from the truth. There's many black men I talk to and rap with and chat with at work, and I feel perfectly at ease with them. The racial hang-up in America is inexcusable. It needs to come to an end, and it hasn't. It's always in the forefront. And then maybe God has brought me back to get right back in the middle of my culture and shatter all those stupid little walls, because if there's one thing that a Christian should be known for, we should be a wrecking ball for cultural walls that are put up that are not of God. Jesus told the Pharisees, for the sake of your tradition, you nullify the commands of God. When culture starts doing that which is unbiblical, then it is wrong. When culture puts up walls, when James says, show not partiality, Pacific has discovered something. I hope it will yield something positive and fruitful in a relationship with a wonderful Ebony woman. That's what I hope for. You haven't heard me say a lot about Asians lately. I don't hate Asians, but I'm here. And as I said, bloom where you're planted, I started going, I think it's time for me to move in that circle. Just this week, an Ebony coworker called me to wish me happy holidays. We talked, and I started noticing, you've got actually more and more black people that are talking to you and want to do stuff with you. I'm encouraged by that. The good news is that in Christ we're free. In a world that's governed by the devil and hate, they won't go for this. But who cares? God made all races. Adam and Eve were the parents of all. And people who want to teach division and racism and classification, it's wrong. This is just Pacific's thoughts on the matter. I just think it's interesting in 1 week's time, going out on 2 dates with this woman, I find that there's a lot of ignorance out there. People still have hang-ups about this. This is 2013, soon to be 14. Something's wrong. This is Pacific, signing off. Bye-bye.